Hey there friends, Golf Coach Dan back today. If you're new here, I appreciate you checking us out. And if you're returning, I appreciate you sticking with us. Today's video is covering how I essentially get golfers started in the game, how to learn the swing for basically the first time. So if you're a newer golfer, this might be perfect for you. Or if you've been playing for a while, this might be a nice refresher. Or maybe you know a newer golfer you want to share this with. Let's get started. So we have to learn how to grip the club. For what it's worth, I'm usually getting someone started with a wedge or a short iron because we're going to start with some smaller swings. And I just think smaller swings are easier with smaller clubs, right? So we have the club face. You probably know we're trying to hit this ball in the middle of the club face. And then when you grip this club, one thing to note, we have this leading edge here. You want that straight up and down as you kind of hold the club in front of you. And that way, when you drop this club down, that leading edge is going to be perpendicular to your target line. Some simple tips about grip. I want it placed a bit more in the fingers versus the palms, because as we make bigger swings, we're going to have to hinge our wrists more. And when the club's in your palms, you're going to have a harder time creating that wrist hinge, which is a very big part of power. So you want to be more in the fingers, and you want these hands touching, if you could see that. So no separation, that's a problem. Whether it's baseball, overlap, interlock, I don't really care. Just be comfortable. And then the last little grip tip, they would always tell me in junior golf that your lead thumb, that's my left thumb as a right-handed golfer. Your lead thumb is the hot dog and your trail hand's the bun, right? So you don't want that thumb under the grip. You want that trail hand covering it up, okay? Cool. So there's our grip tips. For this wedge or short iron, what I'm going to have us start with is like a chip shot or more of a half swing, somewhere in that range. We don't have to get too specific with it. No real big restrictions. We're going to play the ball in the middle of like a narrower stance. As I grip this club, I'm going to have sort of this V in my arms. I failed to mention, we want it in the middle of our stance from sort of that face-on perspective. From a down-the-line perspective, ball position-wise, about a hand's width of space, right? If I spread my hand out wide, pinky touches the back of the club, thumb touches my belt buckle. That should get me set up to where the arms can more or less hang straight down, and we like that, okay? So ball position, grip, check, check. We're going to start with some of these half swings, and I'm just going to rotate my body, my shoulders, maybe a little bit of like the hips, and I'm just going to try to brush the ground with what feels like half swings, right? So I'm trying to make that club go about waist high to waist high. Once that's comfortable, I'm just going to brush one through like that. Hopefully that was waist high to waist high. Field versus Rio, we all have a tendency of going a little bit longer than we think we do, but I don't really care about that. We're just trying to establish solid contact, hopefully with a square face out onto the range, or I'm here in a simulator, right? So into my simulator screen. Okay, cool. Once that's established with kind of a big chip shot or a half swing, we want to progress this up a bit. So you're going to keep making that turn in the backswing. Then we're going to hinge our wrists. I'm trying to create this sort of 90-degree or L shape between my lead arm and the club and the backswing. And then as I go through, I failed to mention, my apologies. Let me get ahead, not trying to get ahead of myself here. My right elbow is folded. Again, I mentioned those wrists are hinged. Lead arm, left arm straight, trail elbows folded. And I have some shoulder turn the same way I did in those earlier swings, right? So I'm going to create that sort of L shape in the backswing. Then I'm going to swing through and I'm trying to create sort of a symmetrical position on the other side, right? So that same 90-degree or L shape. Now my right arm is straighter. The left elbow is folded. These wrists have rehinged up. And then one note is I always want to see that trail heel release up into the air, okay? So we've made some half swings. If they feel good, we're going to work that up to what I would call these are about 3/4 swings, okay? So if you're hitting some decent shots from half swings, and then you can progress that to 3/4 swings, we're really on to something here. Because beyond that, all you have to do is finish your turn a little bit more, get that club close to kind of over your head. I guess textbook would be one of the shafts about parallel to the ground in a full swing on the way back, and then you're going to go all the way through, over your shoulder, around your head. Again, that heel still up in the air, trunk, belt buckle, all that stuff, facing the target. Almost all the weight finishes in that lead leg, okay? Simple tips to get started. I hope you found this helpful. If you enjoyed it, consider hitting that subscribe button for me. Any questions, comments, suggestions for future topics to cover, please share them in the comment section, and I'll see you next time.